Hey homie, how it doing? I've been chewing on this 1.0 drop for a while and wanted to give you a long, relaxed run through you can read straight into mic for your YouTube piece. The kind of script that sounds like I'm sat next to you, rambling through the patch details, the stuff that matters, the drama around launch, and the little mechanical crumbs players will want to know when they jump back in. I'll be honest up front. This is the kind of update that's equal parts celebration and headache. The studio pushed the game out of its long beta era, packed a narrative layer and fresh systems on top, launched on a second storefront for the first time, and yes, that means some players are hyped and some players are legitimately mad. Picture a big, messy festival where half the booths are brand new and the queue system is still being debugged. That's the energy. Now for the meat. The release marks the long-awaited move to a proper 1.0 build after years of iterative updates. The devs finally formalized the campaign systems that they'd teased for ages, giving players a more coherent set of long-term escape objectives that feel meaningful rather than just being another grind loop. This doesn't turn Tarkov into a story-heavy single player. It layers narrative beats and optional campaign goals over the core extraction gameplay, giving players more reasons to hunt specific POIs and prioritize certain task chains. Alongside that, a new playable map with fresh traversal options, new points of interest, and choke points arrived with the patch. It's a map that rewards players who think vertically and play for positioning rather than just sprinting toward the loot. Expect more tight corridors mixed with open waterfront sort of spaces and some intentionally placed landmarks that will quickly become hot contested zones for both looters and ambushers. The update also expanded the NPC ecosystem. There are new factions and smarter patrol behaviors, which means AI encounters are less predictable and more situational. Some of these NPCs have faction-specific weapons and patrol routes, and they interact with the environment. Callouts, suppressive positions, and flanking in ways that push players to be more tactical about approach. If you used to treat NPC runs like easy loot runs, recalibrate. Some of the new AI will punish sloppy movement and reward careful scouting. For players worried about the brutal learning curve, the patch finally added a proper onboarding suite, an actual tutorial, and improved accessibility features designed to teach the essentials without spoon-feeding. It's not a tutorial that holds your hand through 100 raids, but it does introduce core systems like the hideout, flea market basics, trader reputation, and the fundamentals of inventory management and medical triage. That alone lowers the barrier for new players and helps reduce the stomp to a first raid churn that used to push people away. Weapons got systemic tweaks and polish across the board. There are new guns added to the arsenal, and a tranche of balancing changes to attachments, recoil profiles, and damage models. Some attachments now shift handling characteristics more noticeably, and there's been an emphasis on smoothing out the audio-visual feedback so shots and hits feel more consistent. Expect meta shifts. Weapons that felt niche pre-launch might find new life, and the economy rebalances make some formerly cheap attachments more situationally useful. Speaking of economy, trader inventories and flea market rules were touched as well, not a total economy rework, but enough to alter supply demand for specific calibers and components. Loadout planning will again reward those who pay attention to market changes and craft cost-effective kits. The devs also spent a ton of time on QOL, UI refinements, clearer progression indicators, and inventory improvements that speed up gear management. None of this is flashy on video, but these small changes cut down the micro-friction you feel when prepping for a raid or sorting your stash. For streamers and content creators, the launch included a Twitch Drops program and official broadcast events, so watch the official channels for drop windows if you want the bonus cosmetic or account-linked goodies. Now on the thorny stuff, the launch was simultaneous on the studio's native launcher and for the first time on Steam. That move brought an obvious upside, easier discoverability and Steam features for new players, but it also stirred controversy because existing players were told they need to purchase the Steam edition separately if they want the Steam integrated experience, achievements, friends, such things. Accounts can be linked, so progression carries over. But the pay-to-get-it on Steam requirement rubbed a lot of long-term players the wrong way. It's a classic convenience versus loyalty argument, and it created a lot of heat in the community. Expect this to be a recurring topic in comment sections for a bit. On top of that, the launch saw the usual server load issues, queues, connectivity hiccups, and some matchmaking instability in the opening hours. The studio boosted capacity ahead of time, but real-world stress testing always reveals edge cases. If you plan to play during the release window, expect that some runs will be interrupted by server timeouts, and you might need to retry several times to get a clean entry. Don't rage quit. Instead, record what happened and check the dev notes for the first hotfixes, because the team tends to push emergency fixes in the first 24 to 48 hours. About wipes and progression. Some modes and related systems had resets. Arena mode, in particular, went through progress resets as part of its update cycle. The main profile wipe situation is a sensitive topic. The studio is careful to clarify what gets reset, and what carries over, but people reported confusion on launch. The takeaway for players is simple. Check the official news page before you jump in if your main concern is keeping account progress intact. No one wants to pour time into grind only to find it partially removed by a patch. For streamable drama, balance changes and nerfs are the gas on that fire. Some weapons and skills got tweaked in ways that'll change common engagement outcomes. Certain high-tier builds that dominated late beta play were softened, and some mid-tier weapons got love. So expect a reshuffle of what people call meta on your server. That's content for clips and reaction vids, so plan a segment in your video where you test a new loadout and react to the shift in real time. People love that raw, on-the-fly testing energy. The patch notes also included a lot of bug fixes and under-the-hood improvements, the kind that reduce crashes, fix memory leaks, and stabilize netcode. Those are the unsung heroes of a healthy release. Most players notice them only when they're absent, but they do change long-term playability and retention. The visual and sound polish was substantial too. Weapon sounds, ragdoll improvements, hit indicators, and particle effects were adjusted to be cleaner and less misleading. Firing a suppressed weapon feels more satisfying, and the feedback loop for hit confirmation is more reliable, which helps in high-tension encounters where split-second decisions matter. For new players or returning ones who haven't been paying attention, there's a stronger emphasis on giving players multiple pathways to escape. The campaign and escape objectives can be pursued as side quests or as a central goal, and they reward players with unique progression hooks, which give you a reason to pursue certain quest chains or to risk high-tier raids for narrative payoff. It isn't a single linear quest line. The design leaves room for choice and emergent stories, which suits the extraction shooter DNA. Community reaction at launch was mixed, equal parts awe at the scale of the update and frustration at the predictable launch hiccups. Reddit threads lit up with both glowing takes on the narrative layers and loud complaints about the Steam purchase policy. Streamers were split. Some celebrated the shiny new systems and campaign reveals, others focused on the matchmaking and server errors. All of that makes sense. Big launches always produce a range of reactions. If you're making a video, the human element here is gold. Capture clips that show both the cinematic moments the campaign creates and the real frustration of being booted mid-raid. That contrast resonates. Technically, file sizes and preloads were a pain point for some players. The Steam preload was listed at roughly 33 gigabytes, with larger day one updates bringing the full install size higher. If your audience is tight on bandwidth, tell them to free up space early and to check for post-preload patches before they plan a play session. The dev team published extensive official patch notes and changelogs. There's a long list of individual fixes and balancing lines in the changelog if you want to quote specifics. I'd recommend grabbing a few of the most interesting lines. New weapon names, a couple of the more controversial balance numbers, and the official wording around wipes. And reading them into camera so viewers feel you did the homework. In terms of the meta, here's how I'd summarize the expected short-term shifts. Expect closer range engagements to remain brutal, but slightly more skill-based thanks to recoil and sound tweaks. Expect more diverse loadouts as previously underused weapons become viable, and expect the flea market and trader changes to encourage more crafting and component tracking. That gives players tactical reasons to diversify their approaches rather than defaulting to the same pay-to-win loadouts. Lastly, and this is important for your viewers who are still hypersensitive after years in beta, set expectations. The game shipped with ambitious changes, and the studio will follow up with hot fixes and balance patches.